The Strange Season 2, Episode 4, The Silver Angel. Now, this is definitely an interesting episode because not only was the start of it really, really funny with the old school black and white movie, which was like a mix between luchador wrestling and vampire hunting movies, but this episode actually had a lot of cool stuff in it where it showed the fact that the virus against the vampires definitely worked, which was great. That was actually really cool. They just have to get it to a new nest since the master realized what was happening and had them all commit suicide. But we find out that the virus is working. We get a scene with F and his son where it's like they go and he tries to actually spend time with them and do something good, which that may or may not have actually been the reason that Kelly was able to find the scent in the end. But it does, it is an area that they spent time in. We get a little flashback of them actually in the batting cages and stuff with that super CG baseball, which I thought was funny. But it was a good scene. Like, I enjoyed that scene, and it was something where F was really trying to help his son, and ultimately it was just like, well, this is just the spot we came with mom, and it was just another bad situation for him. So we have that scene, and then the ending scene where Kelly does end up getting the scent with the kids, and we see her again, and the creepy little feelers and stuff, and it's just, I just like the design of those characters, so, just creepy little scene at the end. So they're getting much closer, and since they obviously don't have cars, it couldn't be that far. It couldn't be like miles and miles away. I would assume, at least. I mean, I guess technically everything is still working. We did see in the last episode that buses still go even at nighttime, so they could have taken a bus. I guess it could be much further than I'm thinking, but initially in my head I was like, well, they walked to this area, but I guess they could have driven there too. So she's in the area. She's close enough to, they went to this place because it's somewhere that they knew, and it was close enough that it didn't take them that long from the safe house. So wherever it is, whatever the distance is, she's getting a lot closer than before. So I'm really excited about that. And once she finds the safe house, I don't know if they're gonna end up losing this one too, and then they have to find a third safe house, just like in the last season, where they're found out, and it's like, all right, well, we're gonna destroy this place. So if she comes in, it's like, oh, this is where Zach is. There's not much that they can do. They're just gonna get swarmed at nighttime, and then it's like, all right, well, now we have to go somewhere else. Um, Another huge thing that happened, Fett did actually go ahead with his plan to blow up the tunnel, and of course he got busted there as well, which I was very surprised by. I figured he'd blow it up and he'd be gone, but it was kind of a real life situation. He blew up the tunnel and just got hit. I love this scene when the first guy actually hits him, and he just like he puts his arm up and then he looked at him like he was just really mad. I thought that was so funny. Then he punched the other guy that was talking to him, and then he just gets taken down. I thought he'd be able to get out of that. Like he, push him down. I didn't think he'd like just beat up everybody, but I thought that he'd be able to escape, and he didn't. So he's not locked up. He's going to be in jail somewhere, and that might actually lead him into the senator who is going to a new location, which is Red Hook. So it's like, all right, well, you blew up the tunnels. Obviously, that's going to be huge news. It was also a big deal to me just seeing him do that. I was like, where did he get all that TNT from? But he just had like 8 strings tied together of TNT, and there was like 3 or 4 sticks each. So he just had a bunch of explosives. Um, so he's been captured now, and he's going to be in jail. Might run into the senator, like I said. Might run into someone worse, because he could end up running into Palmer, who of course would know exactly who he is, because the master would tell him like, hey, this is one of the people that's been causing a bunch of issues, killing all of my children off, I guess. So who knows how that's going to play out, how long he's going to be in there, how many episodes, what's going to happen, how he's going to get out, if he's going to get attacked in jail because the master might send monsters after him to just attack the prison, much like in this episode where we had another crazy moment with a bunch of vampires just attacking all these people after Palmer left the meeting because he basically wanted to have more money. And it was just, which I thought was crazy. It was basically just a stock exchange thing, and it's like, all right, kill all these people off, and then the stock just goes nuts, and I can just make money because everything's in free fall. So that was surprising. I didn't expect that at all with more money. I guess it makes sense because it's him. I mean, he's working with vampires, killing the entire city. Him killing people to get more money shouldn't be too surprising to me. But it did shock me. It was just the ladies doing a news report and stuff, which I would never do. They're vampires. I would be like, nope, daytime reports only for me. But she's out there doing a report. Vampires just started dropping down from the ceiling. People were just getting bit left and right and taken down. So that just added to the vampires, took away from the population of people. We'll have to see how long it takes for Red Hook to get cured as the next area um, of the virus to basically be taken out. But with F and Nora having secured the virus, they are trying to go, at least F is, Nora's trying to take the natural steps to get to telling people like this is a virus against the vampires. And F's just like, screw that, we gotta, go straight to DC and get in touch with anyone and everyone that we can. The military, normal levels of government, everybody that'll listen. We need to get this to them right now. So I'm not sure how long that's going to take, if they'll actually be able to get in touch with the guy that he mentioned who knows anyone and everyone that they need to get in touch with. But they're going to be trying, and I feel like they're just getting closer and closer to meeting the senator. I feel like there's somewhere where they have to meet her. Like, I don't see how she could be doing what she's doing and they're doing what they're doing and they don't cross paths somehow. Like, it just wouldn't make any sense to me. So I'm sure they're going to meet some point in this season. One of the characters, it might not be every single person, she just runs into like the whole group, but she's gonna talk to someone. And I think at this point it might actually be Fett, since he did kind of become a bit of a terrorist by the end of this episode. So the mayor might end up talking to him and she'll probably go along with him or something like that. But great moments. I loved all those moments. And then we had Gus's storyline in this episode, which is probably my favorite. I think he had the best scene he's ever had in the show when he went back home. And I love that. Like, he had the moment where he's at home. At first he has to deal with it where she walks out and he doesn't want to kill her, and so he's dodging and stuff. And he's just talking, even though obviously it won't make a difference. And her eyes light up. And when that first happened, I thought that the master was giving her some form of her own mind, because that's basically what it signified when they showed it with Kelly. So that's what I thought was about to happen, and he was going to use that to mess with Gus, like where she would have her mind back, and it's like, oh, but you're a monster, and technically she's still under complete control of the master, and he could force her to do whatever. I thought that was going to happen, but then it was just the master himself. Like, the agents are gone, you failed, and he just taunts him and he calls him a coward and he says he's like weak and stuff like that and selfish. And it was just a really great scene. Like, it was very emotional for him. Like, he was just looking at, his mother, and he's just stuck there. It's like he's looking at his mother, but it's not her. He's talking to the master, he's dealing with the master. It's a completely different being, but it's still, and in some way it's still, his mother. So I love that scene, and he actually cried, which was very, something we just haven't seen from Gus. So I love that scene because it was very emotional for him, and I thought the whole thing was perfect. Like, even the way it ended, he has this confrontation with the master, and he talks about how he's, dealing with himself now and not, or fighting for himself now and no one else, because everyone's pretty much dead. He's lost them all. And even with that, he doesn't want to take out his mother in the form that she's in. And when he leaves, after he does like that final little dodge where he tosses her down, he just looks back and then he decides not to do anything, and he just closes the door and he locks it. And I just thought that was a great, great scene. It was definitely my favorite in the entire episode, and the best for him so far, because he's always just the character that has to fight, or he's the one who's just, hey, I'm just doing a job, this and that. And this was an actual emotional scene, and he kind of takes that along with him towards the end of the episode when he's talking to the waitress, and how she's having a fight with her mother because her mother doesn't want her talking to him. And that was like a little thing that I wasn't sure about. Like, I feel like it's leading somewhere, but I don't know where. Obviously, the main focus is on the guy Angel, because like that's the whole title of the episode, and that's how it starts. And that was the big thing for me, because it's like, it starts off with this movie of him in the past. We see how he, actually broke his leg, or his leg was broken in the film, and it kind of messed him up and ended his career. And I don't know what his importance is going to be. I doubt it's just this one episode where it's like he's looking out for her. there has to be something beyond that. So I'm very curious what role he's gonna play if he somehow becomes an actual vampire hunter. I don't know, but it would be an interesting transition from the silly movie that we got in the beginning, to the present where he's still got the moves and stuff. I don't think he could obviously wrestle the way he did with a broken leg, but it seemed like they obviously took the time to make him very important because it's the name of the episode is Silver Angel. It's the beginning of the episode. It's just like, I think it was like 5 straight minutes of that movie, and then we actually got to see him in the present. And they have the scene where Gus actually talks to him, like when he stands up in the restaurant and he sees his stance and stuff. He realizes who it is, and then it's just like, he's running away from who he was in the past almost, and it's just like that was it. So I don't know what importance he's gonna have in the series, but I'm really excited for it because it seems like they're going to be characters, kind of the new characters that Gus is able to care for and care about, and it's going to be sort of this weird start where he's not exactly liked by them, especially by Angel, who just like stares straight at him, which I thought was funny, especially the second time when he's just knocking on the door and Angel's just looking right at him and doesn't do anything. So I love that scene because it was just really silly. But it seems like they're kind of adding these characters, mostly Angel and the daughter, because they're the new people that Gus is going to be able to care for. He doesn't have, his team anymore. His group has been basically killed off. I don't know if he's going to end up going back to the Masters. I don't know if that's even safe since they've woken up. Him just going there by himself, they might just eat him up. So I'm not sure where his character's really going now. He's lost his team. He, had his confrontation with the Master in this episode, and he went back home, and that was the thing. It was that he went home, he didn't go back to where the Masters were and where he'd been training for, the past month or so. So these characters have to be important to him, coming down the line. I feel like that's why they were kind of set up, and that's why they took such a focus. It could have just been random that they just called it Silver Angel, and, they just put focus on it and that was it. But I feel like this is kind of an introduction to some new characters that Gus might talk to for quite some time. I don't know if they'll live because, it's this show. Who knows who's going to survive. But it seems like that's what they're kind of setting up right now. And I'm totally fine with that because he really is alone. Like, he really has no one. So I think this is actually a good direction for his character to add new people and human characters even that he can care about and actually connect with and kind of help them survive and tell them, like, this is some of the stuff kind of behind the scenes. Everyone knows about the vampires now, but this is some of the stuff sort of behind the scenes that's going down, and this is, what I did and how I trained to fight these things. So I'm going to help you guys train and try to protect you because I kind of like the daughter, and that's just how it works out. But I did enjoy this episode. I'm really excited for what's going to happen with Palmer and everything going down with his old assistant, because he was found as well, which was a pretty cool thing with Satrakian and Dutch, and they actually have like their own little adventure with each other, and they go find his former assistant so they can get some answers. He didn't really have a lot of answers for them in this episode, but they might get some more out of him that he just randomly thinks of something, but he can help them out. Palmer, having taken out all this stuff, he's going to get a bunch more money and seem like even more of a hero. So I'm not sure where that's going to lead his character, but I'm definitely curious about that. And then we even got to see, which is another, probably my second favorite part, of course, is the flashback in this episode with young Satrakian and Palmer meeting up again, where they actually did look for the book that they're looking for now, or maybe, I guess, a different version of the book. And we get to see where Palmer actually met Eldritch, or whatever his name is, because I can never remember it. And I thought that was actually really cool. We got to see that scene, and it was actually really simple. Like, he's holding the knife up to him, and it's like, hey, I just happen to have all the answers. I know everything. And that was it. And that's when he decided to work with them, because he got the answers, and he probably had a little incentive knowing in the future that he might be able to get some help as far as healing and stuff like that, like he did in the last season. But that was a great scene. Once again, they had like a little foot chase. It was much smaller with like the little kid being chased by the vampire, and then Satrakian like just throwing the blade and it stabs him in the back. That was actually really really cool. The other fight scenes or like the mini fight scenes, he pushed like right before that he just had one in his hand. He was choking it so the stinger couldn't come out, and he just pushes it into the sunlight and it sets on fire. So he definitely had like a cool action moment in this episode, which I loved. But the flashback itself was cool and surprising because I thought they were kind of done with the flashbacks after their introduction and they met in the present. I thought, oh, that kind of sucks. They did that and then they showed the present and they're kind of done. And I'm glad that that's not the case. We're still gonna get up flashbacks within certain episodes, just here and there if it's important. We're gonna get a flashback. So I love seeing that. Now that they've kind of split up in the flashbacks, I'd love to see maybe a Palmer flashback where it's just him and how after that moment this is what he did growing up because he was still really young back then. He was even younger than Satrakian. So I'd love to see a flashback of him and after he learned all these secrets, what did he do? Like he stopped searching obviously. So what did he do? What was he working on at such a young age to build up to the Master's return in New York from the last season? I'd love to see some info on that. And also what Satrakian did, because just seeing the flashbacks always seem to be really cool. We just get some insight to stuff and random action scenes, him throwing throwing a blade and just stabbing a vampire in the back. So I did enjoy that scene, but I'm very curious what's going to happen with Palmer and just everything with him. He's got a huge advantage after the end of this episode, but now his former assistant may or may not be coming back to bite him in the butt because he's actually a good guy. So we'll just have to wait and see. But I definitely enjoyed this episode. Kelly's getting much closer. Fett is in prison. It added a lot to the show. Like there are a lot of things introduced in this episode where it's like, okay, there's a million different paths this can go now. They could get swarmed again at the house. Well, Fed's going to be in jail. Like, I don't know what's going to happen there. I think he's going to end up on the news. It's probably the very next thing we're going to see. Like, terrorists blew up the tunnel, and it's going to be him. It's like, crap, we have to save him, but we can't because he's not, just dealing with vampires. He's, like, actually in jail and dealing with the government and court and stuff like that. So they added a lot, which I'm excited for. But of course, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And with everything that was kind of introduced in this episode, especially the virus, I want to know what you guys are expecting for kind of the rest of the season. Because we got, like I said, a lot was introduced. We have the virus officially working. Fed's in jail. They found Palmer's former assistant. Odds are he's gonna help. It's always it's a TV thing. It's like, oh, I can't help do this, and then they always help at the end anyway. So they have that. We have whatever Palmer's really planning with getting more money. I don't think that'll change too many things, but you never know. It could. He could just hire a bunch of, a personal army or something to come into the town. I have no idea, but there's a lot that was introduced. So I want to know. What was your biggest moment that was introduced, and what do you think it's going to do for the series, as well as what you're expecting in general, whether you've read the comics or if you're just watching the show like I am, what random things you're kind of expecting? Because right now, I'm thinking they might get swarmed again, but at the same time, I don't know if they're going to do that and have them keep switching, because if that's the case, they have to kill Kelly off this season so that she can't find them again, which I think they might anyway. But I don't know. I don't know. It's obviously all speculation, so I want to know what you guys think. So like I said, please comment below and let me know. And thanks for watching.